Paul Manafort today denying a report he met WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange before he was hired as Donald Trump's campaign manager. The Guardian, that's in the UK, claims tall Paul secretly met with Assange at the Ecuadorian embassy in London several times, including right before he started working for candidate Trump. The report suggests a direct connection between the campaign and WikiLeaks, which released tens of thousands of emails stolen by Russian spies during the 2016 election. In a statement this afternoon, Manafort called the story totally false and deliberately libelous, saying he has never been in contact with Assange or anyone at WikiLeaks, and he's considering legal action against the paper. The news comes a day after Special Counsel Robert Mueller said Manafort has violated a plea agreement by repeatedly lying to the FBI. Meanwhile, President Trump took another shot at Mueller today, calling him a conflicted prosecutor gone rogue in a tweet, and told the Washington Post he has no intention of stopping the investigation, saying, quote, "The Mueller investigation is what it is. It just goes on and on and on. He's still there. He wouldn't have to be, but he's still there. So I have no intention of doing anything." So how much longer is this thing going to go on for? Joining me now, attorney and spokeswoman for Judicial Crisis Network, Gayle Trotter is back. Welcome back, Gayle.
Great to be with you, Kennedy.
So first, let's talk about Manafort meeting Assange, because Manafort is saying this is all a steaming cup of hot malarkey. The Guardian is standing by their story. They won't name their sources. And there are a bunch of people saying, well, if he were here, we would have known about it. It's very difficult to meet in secret with someone as high profile as Julian Assange. So what are the facts as we know them?
Right. Well, this story came out alleging that Paul Manafort had met with Assange in the Ecuadorian embassy in Britain in 2013, 2015, and later. And this is all based on the reporting by The Guardian. There's no evidence of it yet. We don't know if this is related to the special counsel investigation yet. It comes as this other news has been released that the special counsel says that the plea deal with Paul Manafort is off, and we don't know yet whether those two things are related. Bob Mueller's team, in their submission to the federal court, said that they were going to give details about why the plea deal was off in a filing that they will make related to the sentencing that they are petitioning the judge to go forward with instead of delaying further.
The whole thing is really interesting because it's hard to tell if the statement by special counsel stems from frustration or if it's one last attempt to squeeze Paul Manafort and get the desired information from him once and for all, because he's obviously a person who knows a lot. He was in the room during these critical meetings and at points in the campaign that Mueller is most interested in. So what do you think is going on here between special counsel and Paul Manafort?
I think you're right, Kennedy, that we see this as an attempt by Bob Mueller to put the thumb screws into Paul Manafort, perhaps. It also might show that there's really nothing there, because at this point in the investigation, if there was substantial evidence, you would think that Bob Mueller would be ready to release that, to release a full report, but we're not seeing that right now. And there's a lot of question about the timing of the report and if it's going to be released anytime soon. Certainly there's a play for a pardon in all of this. Definitely President Trump has talked about how Paul Manafort is a brave man and has called into question this witch hunt, as President Trump refers to it. Until we see actual evidence that anything has been indicated with collusion in the 2016 election, we haven't seen any evidence of that yet. Paul Manafort was convicted on charges of bank fraud and tax fraud, none of which related to the 2016 presidential election. So Bob Mueller is going to have to come forward with better evidence if he expects this to go forward.
Now, you have pointed out that it's very easy to lie to the DOJ. They set traps all over the place. You don't know the information that they have. You don't know if you're the one who's been under surveillance. We don't know the contents of these FISA applications. There are many of them. But Alan Dershowitz is saying that the Mueller report will not be without bias, and it will be very damaging to the president. What do you think about Dershowitz's comments?
Certainly there are indications that that is a reasonable conclusion to reach, but we do not have the final report yet. And I would trust that Bob Mueller, being a person who has a responsibility to the law and to the American people, will make sure that he upholds justice and decides to do the best job that he possibly can. But based on the reports that we have so far, we're not seeing an indication of that. There's a lot of sound and fury, but we're not seeing really results on that.
Shakespeare/Faulkner reference. Gayle Trotter, thank you so much.
Great to be with you, Kennedy.
Great to have your insight. Thanks.